Local Outbreak on 100.1 The Planet. Matt from IPMNation.com. Sitting here at The Planet. Across from me, as always, is Tim Martin working the board. And if you need a DJ for your event, definitely check out centralnhevents.com. Tim will do all kinds of events, but he'll only do one thing there. He has not learned how to make the balloon animals yet that I know of, but he will show up and DJ for you. So definitely check out centralnhevents.com and hire our good friend Tim Martin. And I'm sitting here with two of the guys from Everdown. How are you guys?
Good.
Well, doing all right.
All right, so we have Chris and John. Chris, what do you do in the band?
Drums.
You drums, and John?
Triangle.
Triangle, very good.
Bass, playing bass.
Bass, okay. Well, you could do both.
I do. If you listen closely, you'll hear some triangle.
All right, we'll listen for the ding.
Colt 45.
Well, we're going to talk in a minute, and you guys are well steeped in the New Hampshire music scene, I know, so we'll have a lot to talk about. But why don't we play a track? You brought some tunes with you. What do you guys want to start the show with?
A little WD, break it off old school.
Yeah, WD-40.
There you go.
All right, WD-40 from Everdown here on Local Outbreak on 100.1 The Planet. Local Outbreak on 100.1 The Planet. Matt from IPMNation.com. Sitting here at The Planet with Chris and John from Everdown. So, gentlemen, how long has Everdown been around?
Everdown started around 92, 93, I think.
Okay. And I remember you mentioning that before we started the show, and I was surprised because I didn't realize it had gone back that far. Because I know there was what's that?
We're old.
There was. I didn't realize it because there was a break in your. There's a big break in your history, right? It started 92. You said.
Yep.
And went until The initial run until
96, 97.
Okay.
And then we, probably right around there.
Okay. And then when did it start back up?
Just about the middle of 2008.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yep. So we've been hitting it pretty hard since.
So that's about an 11-year break then.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. And you're 19 now, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So, what is it that made you decide? Well, why did you guys decide to put it back together after all these years?
That's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Can you answer that one?
The money, the record label and the money and the tour.
Yep.
No, I actually stopped playing after I left Crown Vic. I stopped playing altogether for a little bit of time, and then picked back up on bass and really just wanted to start writing. And of course, Helmig approached me, the guitar player / backups.
Okay.
Approached me about starting this thing up again, and it sounded cool. And I was all about getting back in the studio and writing some old school tracks with a little new school flavor.
Sure. So who else is in the band?
John Helmig, which currently he's the guitar player and backup vocalist for Crown Vic.
Okay.
Eric Adams, I think he does a stint with, was it still Milli Vanilli?
Yeah.
He's a backup dancer for Milli Vanilli.
Nice.
But he's our vocalist, and then obviously us Goombas over here. So.
Okay, so there's 4 of you.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had another guitar player who was the original. He came back with us for a little bit, and it just wasn't for him. He's got another band on the side. But,
Okay.
But yeah, I think it was around 2008 we got back together. We were actually in Boston at a reunion show for another band.
Yeah.
And we all just started talking, and well, rest is history.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Is it all the original guys?
No, I
Okay.
mean this band has probably had a rap sheet. I don't know.
Like Spinal Tap always goes through.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, the original guys are me on drums, Eric on vocals. John Helmig was pretty close to the beginning on guitar.
Okay.
With the other guitar player Nate, and then I think we've had five or six bass players.
Wow, really?
Yeah. They don't. We usually kill most of them.
Yeah.
So no, we just bass players is our thing.
Yeah.
So they figured they'd grab a drummer and put him on strings.
Right,
so
there
it
you
worked
go.
out well.
So I imagine this question will take a couple minutes to answer, but what happened in the intervening 11 years?
Go ahead and tell him, Q-Tip. I don't know what did happen anyway.
Let's see. I've got 6 kids, and the guitar player has
6 kids. What are you, Catholic?
I think the band put together, we're looking at 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1 on the way.
So
4 guys. That's not bad.
We'll
huh?
have 10 kids out of 4.
Wow.
Out of 4 guys. No, I'm self-employed. I've got a business.
Yeah.
John's busy. He's got a business as well.
Mm-hmm.
John was doing his thing after he played, and Eric. We just got busy. Life changes, different focuses, and never parted on bad terms. We all still kept in touch.
That's
but
good.
Life was busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had put out a decent record, played some good shows, and it's just time to call it a break. For a little bit.
Yeah, that was the point where Helmig and I teamed up with Dave Ball from, at the time, Big John Stud out of Boston area, and started the Crown Vic empire, if you will, the local empire.
Oh, yeah. I mean, our listeners are most likely very familiar with
we had a lot of fun. I mean, we kind of changed our whole perspective on writing and the whole gamut of the scene and try to do our thing. And we did it for quite a while. I mean, we put a good 8, 9, 10 years in before I decided to jump out. But they're still cranking, and like I was telling you earlier, they got a great full length coming out. I'm sure you're going to want to hear that as soon as it pops the store. But yeah,
John, did you go right from Everdown to Crown Vic?
Yeah, Helmig and I literally just we walked away from that situation once it all dispersed, and immediately got a jam space. Just myself, John, and Dave Ball. Ironically, I had been playing bass in Everdown back in late '90s.
Okay,
and actually cut my finger off.
Ooh.
Ironically, it was 2 weeks after we wrote a song called "One Knuckle Shy," which is on the straining disc.
Yeah.
We turned around and Dave and John were playing guitar, and I'm standing there going, "Well, I really can't play bass, but I played drums for years." And of course, they said, "Huh?"
Right.
And then that's how Crown Vic started. So I was kicking beats, and like I said, they went for quite a while, and here we are now.
No, so Crown Vic is still going. So John Helming is doing both bands?
Yep.
Okay.
John Helmig actually has more projects than,
He's one of those guys.
He's like a Mike Patton on guitar, He's all over the place, but he loves it. I mean, he's in producing and recording as well.
Good.
He's got his own studio. So
Verse Media Studios.
Verse Media. That's actually been a huge help for us because we've got 2 studios that we work with locally that he runs.
Oh, great.
So our recording, it made the whole coming back to it a lot easier to be able to jump in and just get writing and no messing around.
Yeah, good. So, what about you, Chris? Did you jump into another band in the?
No, actually, again, I've been doing my business and I got a pretty big family, so I played with a few guys locally.
Sure.
Just at a couple places in Concord, a couple little bar clubs, but no, I kind of didn't put it to the side, but it definitely wasn't as much in the forefront as it was prior.
Sure.
So, but I kept playing.
What else do you guys do? You guys each have your own businesses?
I have my own landscaping construction business out of Concord.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, actually, I design, build, and sell laundromats throughout New England. I got an interesting little thing.
No kidding.
On. Yeah, and Helmig, obviously, the Verse Media, he's doing the graphic design, music design. He's done some stuff for Dunkin' Donuts commercials. Actually, did some Crown Vic music on some of the running commercials right now, which is pretty funny.
Oh, that's cool.
You wouldn't expect it.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like you all bring kind of an entrepreneurial spirit to the band.
Yeah, you could say that. We're definitely the lumpers of the music world. That's for sure. we get in and like to get work done.
Yeah, that's good.
It's not the old school when you were young, just run around, have fun. We're more about get in, do what we like to do, write what we like to hear. And
so, do you feel that you're all more serious about it the second time around with this band?
I would say it's probably the very opposite for me. I'm
really?
Not as far as, well, I shouldn't say that. Depending on what you're talking about as far as serious, I'm not seriously pursuing any kind of crazy record deal or anything like that, like I might have when I was younger. Like,
sure.
Hey, great, let's go play a bunch of showcases. To me, it's more about let's write what we really want to write, have some fun. Right. That's where I'm more serious about.
Yeah, it's definitely more fun getting together because we're not pursuing anything contract wise.
Sure, right.
But we're definitely serious. Our writing has taken huge steps. Progression forward with what we write. A lot pickier with how things come out, and we rework things and rework things and rework things, and so yeah, a lot more laid back and fun, but serious with what we're putting out for music for sure.
Yeah, is the sound different in terms of? I mean, obviously, the quality. I'm sure of the songwriting has improved, as you say, but has the sound evolved from what you did originally, or is the vibe kind of still the same?
We're trying to hold on to that vibe. We're not trying to copy what we were doing by any stretch, but we want to try and keep that kind of old school feel.
Sure.
With it, sprinkling on some new school, a little bit of new school stuff. Probably more vocally than musically. We're trying to get kind of dirty like we were back in the day, but the production's certainly a lot better now.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the music is definitely heavier.
Yeah.
It's definitely heavier. It's still tight, very rhythmic. Has a real good feel for it. Definitely a progression forward. Vocals are a lot. The biggest step forward. A lot more time spent with vocals and making everything solid.
Right. Okay.
So it's definitely us. I mean, if you listen to old discs, the older stuff, and you listen to the new stuff, it's not like, oh, who the heck is this or what are they doing? It's a progression forward, but like a natural.
Okay, so not drastically different, but
yeah, we probably could have made it so that even though there was that monstrous gap, the disc kind of falls into place. Just like, hey, what happened technology-wise? It sounds a lot more.
Sure.
It's a lot cleaner,
Yeah, cool. Well, why don't we hear another track? What do you guys want to play?
What's good? Well, we might as well go to the second one, which would have been Black Clover.
Okay.
Yep, Black Clover it is.
Yeah. All right, cool. So this is Black Clover from Everdown here on Local Outbreak on 100.1 The Planet.
See 100.1 The Planet's local Outbreak with IPMNation.com.
Local Outbreak on 100.1 The Planet. Matt from IPMNation.com, sitting here with Chris and John from Everdown. So you touched on it earlier, but I just I want to go back to it. When you guys decided to put this back together, you said you were actually at a show, a reunion show for another band when it
we went
first
to
came
see.
up?
I don't know what month it was, but we went to the Middle East downstairs to see Only Living Witness. They had gotten back together, which is a band we all really admired and liked and listened to, and actually had played shows with. And we actually didn't all go down together. Like, it was some of the guys went down together, the other guys went down together, and kind of saw everybody there, started talking, and it just kind of came up as, hey, we should do that too. It'd be kind of cool. And
I think you were drinking Schlitz that night.
Well, I was going to ask, was it the kind of thing where, somebody just kind of threw it out there, maybe kidding around, and then it got serious? Because sometimes, these situations come up where people say things, all just half kidding. Oh, we should do this. And then maybe...
believe me, I thought they were kidding when they asked me.
Yeah, I think it was the hopes of doing one for fun, because we got together and we practiced, and we played out fairly quickly.
Really?
Right down at O'Brien's in Boston, with more of some of the original guys. And
okay.
And it was fun. It was a good show, and I think after that, a few of the guys, were like, "Oh, that was cool. That was fun. Now we're done."
Really? Yeah.
And then a few of us others were more like, "Oh, that was cool. Do we really have the time to pursue this and
sure.
kind of just keep it going on a really just chill level? If something comes up, hey, we'll move things around." But yeah, I think at first for a few of the guys, it was more of a quick little flash of nostalgia, and then they were on their way.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the rest of us were like, oh yeah, we do have the time. Let's do it.
Right.
So,
was that a big adjustment for you? I mean, obviously, John played with Crown Vic in the intervening years, so he stayed active with it. But was it an adjustment for you in terms of jumping back in and actually doing this, as far as finding the time and all that?
Well, no, I got the time. I'm self-employed, so I can make the time. But I wasn't playing metal. I was doing some covers. Some we were doing like Police stuff, kind of So it was definitely a different style I was playing. So it took me a little bit to get myself back to where I wanted to be chop wise and to playing some metal again. But
well, that's when Helmig and I introduced him devilishly to the click track. So
okay.
Yes.
We've been we spent a little time getting him on the treadmill like Rocky. He was out there pounding meat in the freezer.
Right.
and now he's back like he was back in the day.
The click track was definitely evil at first.
You didn't see a lot of click tracks back in the little kid days. You know?
Right.
No. Yeah, there was we didn't do any recordings with click track back in the early recordings. So to start practicing to this little annoying sound in my ear, I'd always ask him to turn his guitar up so I could flood it out until he caught on and put the click louder. So it was a little bit of adjustment, just because we wanted to be far more professional with the music instead of, back then we'd write a tune and it sounded really awesome. And we'd throw vocals on it, and then we'd rush out and play a show, and it was great, and we'd record and go play shows. And so this time was totally different. It was, really a lot more work for me, because I had to follow this, and because I wanted it to be so much more different. If we're going to be back together and put out new tunes under the old name, and we had a really good following and a good name for ourselves, we definitely couldn't come back cheesy. So I think it was definitely a lot of work for me to get that down, and because now we have we have always had samples in our music, but now the samples are in the music as we're playing, so I got to follow everything, and I got to be perfect. So it definitely was it was a little bit of an adjustment, but again, the final product is well worth the time we've put into get it where it is.
So the samples are included in your live show?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Who triggers the samples?
Everything. Well, the way we're running everything now, it's literally embedded in a track. So he's running a click track with the samples in perfect time. So we all know exactly when he's on and when he's off.
Right.
Yeah, I start the song with the machine next to me, and if I'm off,
I think that's kind of my fault, because through the Crown Vic years, we did the same thing.
I remember,
I actually used to run a D8 and a Behringer, and I had this whole pile of junk that I used to put on my head and try and keep up with. And thankfully now, nowadays we got an iPod and it's pretty simple, and we're a little more advanced in what we're doing.
Sure.
But he touches on a really smart part of this whole thing. Was we didn't want to come back with garbage. We know that this whole reunion thing and bands getting back together, I see a lot of that going on, but we wanted to come back and really do it the way that, as if it progressed, talent wise musically, but with that same flavor. So
right. Yeah. And you guys mentioned you had a pretty good following before.
Yeah, there was like 6 people back in '95.
Yeah, six or seven.
Nice,
there might three of them might still be around. Actually, are you kidding me? We got enough kids to have a show. We're good. So,
well, I was going to say, what's the response been with the reunion? I mean, do you see the same people coming back?
There's some people coming out of the woodwork. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, we haven't done a ton out because we're really, really concentrating on studio time now,
right?
But we did just do Soulfest this past Soulfest. Actually,
oh, very cool.
Yeah, that was cool digs over there. But certainly, response online and response out in public and stuff is, wow, it's cool to see that you guys are doing this again. So
yeah, very
neat.
And it's helped us out because the internet is far more, of a tool now than it was when. When we were done, when we had stopped, before we had stopped playing. So it's like we say that we're back together, and it's on all these, blogs and all these pages and all these websites.
It's a different world now, isn't it?
Yeah. So we put a couple feelers out there, and it's traveled and traveled and traveled, and we got the new stuff up on iTunes, and our MySpace is always getting hits. We did a Facebook. So the power of the internet brought a lot of the old people back that were like, some of the responses are crazy that people write, oh my gosh, you're back. Or when we played up at Soulfest, there are these, I call them older gentlemen that came up and like, oh, hey, you guys, I loved you guys. And I'm looking at them like, how do you know us? And come to find out they remembered us from, 11 years ago.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy, but...
I mean, it must be nice to not only recapture those fans, but also to know that you made such an impression on them back then that 11 years later, they remember you and they're excited that you're back together.
It's kind of funny. I mean, I was on the last full length. I did a couple of tracks on bass, and I think the perspective back then was we were kind of ahead of the curve, and then we're kind of getting back into this behind the curve on purpose. In other words, we're not trying to be all techie and technical and crazy and super tight and produced to the max. We're trying to just, drop a live sound, essentially. Obviously, we try and do it with a decent production over it, so it sounds good.
Right.
But not as shop as what you're going to see a lot of bands doing these days, or at least, and they sound good, but, I'm tired of hearing a lot of that same old just... trigger happy stuff,
right?
Yeah, so
right, yeah. There's a lot of stuff out now that's very polished and very, everything sounds like it was put together with Pro Tools and
you know what? I've definitely been slapped in the face by that. I hear some of these bands' discs and it's like, wow, that's really good. I'd love to see them try and pull it off live. And then there's been a few where it's like, wow, that was actually better live. So
sure,
you never know what you're getting.
True.
It's kind of like a box of chocolates these days.
Yeah, we were definitely never polished. We were more kind of raw.
I'd say like sewage raw. Yeah.
Sewage raw. When we basically it was like just the energy from a show. So it's still be the same thing, just a far better recording and more time, put into music. But
yeah, a little less emphasis on enthusiasm and a little bit more on, doing your part. Getting in there and digging into it. So
yeah.
So with that, it obviously we're producing a better sound because we're paying a lot more attention than we did when we were little guys, hammering around a stage. We're spending more time, putting our heads to it. So it's cool.
Cool. And what is the future trajectory for you guys? Are you going to be playing a lot of shows? Are you more focused on the recording?
If you find any nursing homes that are booking, we're all about that. I mean, if we're not in walkers in the next 6 to 8 months, I think that we're probably going to be out hammering around a little bit.
Yeah.
Our biggest thing right now is we've got just about enough stuff to burn a full length out right now.
Okay.
we've certainly been writing our buns off. Yeah, we've had a little bit of a break here with kids and moving
Sure.
and houses and we're looking to finish up this full length, and at that point we're going to sit back while it's being mastered and take a look at the scene and see what's cracking. We don't want to go nuts, and we're not just going to jump on anything, but we want to go out and definitely do a couple of good shows. And matter of fact, we're looking. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mercury Switch, but that's also another thing that Mark McDonald does for Mosh and Death Machine. Crown Vic, Mercury Switch, and Everdown. We think that we may end up throwing some stuff like that together, just to say, hey, the old guys are back. What's going on? Just kind of bounce around, have some fun.
Yeah.
So let's see if some of those kids that were at the all ages clubs are probably, drinking age now. So should be interesting.
No doubt. Absolutely. And it's going to be a full length?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The 2 song was a little teaser.
Okay. Everybody's doing EPs now. That's why I asked.
No, the
I've
2
noticed
song
that's kind of in the trend.
That was just, we wanted to. There was a couple of good shows coming up in festivals that were coming up when we put that out, that we wanted to basically get something out to people to say, hey, we're back.
Right.
Here's a little teaser. Because all the other music we had was on Tooth and Nail Records.
Okay.
So this was actually put out on Urban Achiever Records, just to help us get it out and get it to people, let them know, hey, we're back. There's tunes. So it's definitely, it'll be a full length, 10, 12 songs.
Well, we're gonna write until we're happy with an album, simple as that.
Yeah,
but
sure.
we're definitely hammering down the path right now. So.
And what is your Urban Achiever Records? Is that
That's a small label out of Nashville.
Okay.
A friend of mine who just helped us get
very
it out
cool.
and get it distributed. Yeah, we've been talking with Tooth and Nail about this upcoming release, and it's still all up in the air.
Yeah.
They want more than we want to. Basically, we want to do. We're doing this more for fun, not for a 9-month tour. So,
Right.
so that's all up in the air. The workings are all up in the air with whether they'll put it out or. But regardless, there'll be a full length out.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. And in addition to the 2-song sampler you guys brought something else.
Yeah, we've got a couple tracks that we've been working on here. I'm assuming he brought the good stuff.
Okay, so this is brand new stuff.
Yeah.
It's definitely some,
Unheard. Yeah, this will be
Yeah.
Unheard and not mastered yet, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
it's probably got an in-house mastering on it, but nothing. Nothing too polished yet.
But it'll give us an idea of the vibe.
Oh,
kind of a sneak peek.
Yep.
It's got a little bit. I think these particular songs are showing more of the direction that we're looking at.
Okay.
The first 2 songs obviously they're certainly in the realm. Since those, we've been really pounding out different riffs, especially John and I, just kind of sitting back, just beating on stuff. And
Sure.
this is kind of the product of it. I mean, Helmig and I are I think we're adjoined at the hip here, rhythmically.
Sure. Well, you've worked together a long time.
Yeah, we've been together. We've been working together for a long time, and so you could definitely hear the Helmet influence that we have together, and we kind of grew up on Helmet and stuff. And
Yeah.
that's these 2 songs will definitely represent where we've been hanging, and
Cool.
certainly with Chris's background on the beat. So
Yeah. All right. Well, let's hear one. What do you guys want to play?
how about a little Coleman?
Coleman. It is
Coleman?
Coleman.
Yeah, like Gary.
Gary
Oh,
Coleman.
okay. Is that who it's about? Gary Coleman?
No, it's about a cooler.
Because I think Gary Coleman deserves a song.
Yeah, it's about Gary
All right,
Coleman.
well then today it's
All
for
right,
Gary
great.
Coleman.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Gary Coleman,
What
this
you
one's
talking
for you.
about? Okay. This is Coleman from Everdown here on Local Outbreak on 100.1 The Planet.
It's like me wanting more. The fact is, you're here.
Local Outbreak on 100.1 The Planet. Matt from IPMNation.com sitting here with Chris and John from Everdown. So, what do you guys have coming up? You're working on the album.
Yep.
Do we have any kind of an idea of when it's going to be out? Or I know you're kind of taking your time, making sure everything's right.
Yeah, I would say that probably late summer, early fall, provided everything goes as smoothly as it should.
Okay.
Knowing that I am from Crown Vic, I'm telling you 6 to 8 months, but it's probably going to be like 6 to 8 years. So. But always well worth the wait.
Right, right.
Yeah, definitely. As far as shows, we've been asked to play a few shows in Manchester. Those will be when everybody gets back from vacation. We'll figure out what we'll do for there. We've been asked to play a couple of big festivals over the summer.
Good.
So it's basically we got to sit down and see where we can go. John's got a new baby on the way, so
we'll
have to work
congratulations.
around his schedule, and then just everyone's work schedule. But yeah, we'll definitely be out there playing.
You think you might do Soulfest again? Do you know yet?
Well, it depends if we can afford the daycare that day.
Yeah. We have a pretty hefty rider, so if they can meet what we're asking for, then
Actually, I heard Petra was playing this time.
They are.
Interesting. So I'm probably going to be sick that day.
Petra, how old are those guys?
Older than us.
Yeah.
I can actually say that.
So yeah, we were asked to play that. We were asked to play a couple other big shows and, like I said, some local shows. So basically, we'll get back to our groove and see where everybody's at and kind of pick the shows that make sense. And basically, just the main focus is just to get a record out.
Yeah. Very cool. And for people to keep up on what you guys are doing, where do we find you online? Here's a question I wouldn't have been able to ask you during the first incarnation of the band.
Correct. That's correct.
It really is a different world.
Back then, we were using Morse code to transmit our dates.
Yeah. You can find us on MySpace /Everdown. We're on Facebook. You can get our all of our discs, all of our music, basically through iTunes.
Okay.
You can still get stuff through Tooth and Nail Records and.
Oh, really? Okay.
So yeah, you
Great.
can pretty much get us anywhere that you can find stuff online.
Is there a lot of? Did you guys record a lot for them the first time around?
We had 2 full lengths out. We have a couple of B-sides that went out on them, and then there's a couple of earlier things that were
comps.
Yeah, and then we're on a couple of comps.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, we've
cool.
actually got. There's quite a bit of stuff out there. Like the first recording, I think was like '93, which was a cassette. And then we put out a 7-inch, and then we actually got signed to a small label out of Florida called ART Records.
Oh, okay.
Which was like a death metal label, and they put out a cassette for us.
Huh.
And I think we played a bunch of East Coast shows, and then got signed to Tooth and Nail, and everything jumped to disc.
Yeah,
which you can still find our cassettes out there.
No kidding.
Yeah, you can still get cassettes.
eBay, thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. You can get cassettes of us and 7 inches, but...
That's cool. Do you know if all those tunes are they all available online as well, on iTunes or whatnot? Or
on iTunes, you can get everything from the first record, Sicken, second record, Straining, and if you go to... Tooth and Nail has a couple download sites. You can get... Okay. It's called the classic hard rock. We have a couple tracks on there, songs from the Penalty Box. We have some B-sides there, but you'd have to get those through Tooth and Nail downloads, just the B-sides. But our 2-song that we played tonight is available on iTunes as well as the other 2 full-length discs.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like most of it's available for whoever
everything
wants
is.
to download it. That's great.
Yeah, and you can get merch if anybody wants merch from us. You can get it from us on the websites.
Okay. Very cool. Well, guys, I'm glad you came in, and we'll play another fresh track there in a moment.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And I also want to thank Tim from CentralNHEvents.com. If you need a DJ, he's your man.
Wiki.
Go to CentralNHEvents.com and book Mr. Tim Martin for your event. And I want to remind everybody, too, coming up after Local Outbreak is Out of the Box with Amber Cool. So you can hear some great new music that Amber's going to spin for you. And Chris and John, what do you guys want to wrap up the show with? What's this other tune that you brought?
Well, the last one we have for you tonight's Mr. Brown.
Okay.
I think that's AKA. There's a T there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
Is that actually part of the title, like in parentheses?
It is as of tonight.
Yeah, it is right now.
There's a T there. Absolutely.
That's a long title, but that's good.
Absolutely.
You know?
The music will speak for itself.
When you put the disc out, that's going to
it.
look great on the cover art.
Yeah, big T.
Yeah.
Big T.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So thanks, guys. This is Mr. Brown from Everdown here on Local Outbreak on 100.1 The Planet.
.1 The Planet's Local Outbreak with IPMNation.com.
The Planet's Local Outbreak is recorded weekly at the studios of 100.1 The Planet. It's engineered by Tim Martin of CentralNHEvents.com. Matt Connerton of IPMNation.com is the host of The Planet's Local Outbreak. The show is produced and edited by Annie Biello of 100.1 The Planet. For artist links and details about The Planet's Local Outbreak, log on to the Planet's Entertain Me page, WPNHFM.com. The Planet's Local Outbreak is available for download anytime online, IPMNation.com/local outbreak. The Planet's Local Outbreak is a product of 100.1 The Planet and Northeast Communications.